Saturn is surrounded by a faint, enormous ring called the E ring. From a distance, it looks permanent, part of the scenery, another band of material circling a giant planet. But rings are not permanent things. They are constantly losing particles. Sunlight pushes on them, gravity disturbs them, tiny collisions grind them down. Left alone, a ring slowly fades, which creates a simple problem. If Saturn's E-ring is still there, something must be feeding it. Somewhere inside Saturn's system, fresh material is continuously entering that ring. The consequence is visible long before the source is known. A vast ring surrounds a planet. The supplier remains hidden. Among Saturn's many moons, one object seemed especially unlikely to matter. Enceladus. A frozen world only a few hundred miles across, bright with ice, small enough that it should have cooled long ago. For years, it fit comfortably into a familiar category. An ancient moon. A frozen relic. The kind of place expected to preserve history rather than create it. Then a spacecraft named Cassini arrived. As it passed through Saturn's system, it began mapping temperatures across Enceladus. The images should have looked cold and uniform. Instead, one region stood out. Near the South Pole, a patch of terrain glowed with unexpected warmth. Not warmth by Earth standards. Warmth by Enceladus standards. In a place that should have been frozen into geological silence, heat was still escaping. The discovery did not immediately overturn the old picture. Perhaps this was a local anomaly, a small pocket of activity, an isolated exception inside an otherwise inactive moon. At first, that explanation seemed reasonable. Then the shape of the heat came into focus. The warm region was not scattered randomly across the landscape. It followed lines. 4 immense fractures cut across the South Pole like claw marks across ice. They stretched for miles. Dark, parallel, unmistakable. Scientists would eventually nickname them the Tiger Stripes. The heat traced their paths. Not the surrounding terrain. Not the wider pole. The fractures themselves. The anomaly was becoming organized. And organized anomalies are harder to dismiss. A crack can be accidental. 4 giant fractures behaving in the same way suggest a system. The old explanation survived, but less comfortably than before. Because now the question was no longer why Enceladus was warm. The question was why these specific fractures were warm. Cassini continued returning. Each pass brought another piece of the puzzle. The Tiger Stripes remained active. The heat did not disappear. The moon refused to return to the role everyone expected it to play. Then the fractures revealed something else. Against the darkness of space, material could be seen rising above the South Pole. Not drifting. Not lingering. Erupting. Towering plumes of ice particles and vapor burst upward from the Tiger Stripes and spread into space. The fractures were not merely cracks. They were vents. Suddenly, the warm lines crossing the ice became something entirely different. They were outlets. Visible openings connected to something hidden below. For a moment, it appeared that the mystery might be solved. The moon was active. The vents were releasing material. Case closed. Except the consequences refused to stay local. The particles leaving Enceladus did not simply fall back onto the surface. Many escaped. They spread outward into Saturn's environment. And as scientists tracked their movement, an unsettling dependency emerged. The composition and distribution of those particles matched what Saturn's E-ring required. The ring was not merely near Enceladus. It appeared to depend on Enceladus. The tiny moon was helping sustain one of the largest ring structures surrounding the giant planet. The scale relationship felt backward.
Plumes of Enceladus.
Saturn dominates the system.
Tiger stripes.
Enceladus is a minor moon. Yet removing Enceladus from the picture created a problem. The explanation for the E-ring began to fail. The ring needed fresh material. The plumes were supplying fresh material. A frozen moon was feeding a planetary structure vastly larger than itself. The small object was influencing the larger one. The contradiction grew even sharper when scientists examined what the plumes contained. If the vents were releasing only surface ice, the story might have ended there. Instead, the particles carried clues from deeper below. Salts appeared within the material. Chemical signatures pointed toward liquid water. Evidence suggested prolonged interaction between water and rock. The source feeding the plumes was becoming harder to explain as a shallow phenomenon. Each answer increased the size of the hidden system. The tiger stripes had first appeared to be cracks, then vents. Now they looked more like sampling ports. Opening going into a reservoir nobody could directly see. The ocean itself remained concealed beneath miles of ice. No camera could photograph it. No spacecraft could stare through the crust and reveal it. Yet the evidence kept arriving anyway. Every plume was carrying information upward. Every eruption delivered another sample. The hidden source could not be observed directly, but its consequences were everywhere. In the chemistry of the particles, in the persistence of the activity, in the continuous replenishment of Saturn's E-ring, the original explanation had quietly collapsed. The south polar heat was never just a local oddity. The vents were never the complete story. Those visible features only made sense when connected to something much larger beneath them.
The plumes are not random.
What began as a warm patch on a frozen moon expanded into an entire planetary system of dependencies.
Subsurface ocean.
Heat supported fractures. Fractures released plumes. Plumes supplied the E-ring.
These massive plumes erupted.
The vents sampled an ocean hidden below the ice. One observation kept leading downstream to another consequence. And every consequence pointed back to the same place. The tiger stripes. Seen from orbit, they still look like scars crossing a frozen surface. But their meaning has changed completely. They are not the anomaly. They are the outlets. The visible edge of a machine operating beneath the ice. A machine capable of moving material from a hidden ocean through narrow fractures into space and ultimately into Saturn's surrounding environment. The story began with a ring that seemed to exist on its own.
From the South Pole, a continuous stream of ice and dust is injected.
A quiet
directly into
feature
orbit,
circling a
feeding the
giant
E-ring.
planet.
The continuous
Now that
eruption
ring
of
looks
these
different.
cryovolcanoes is
Every
actively
particle
feeding
drifting
vast
through the E-ring
expanse of the
hints at a
E-ring.
journey that began far below the surface of a tiny moon. What once appeared insignificant has become impossible to ignore. Because Enceladus is no longer merely a frozen object orbiting Saturn, it is a hidden planetary supply chain.
From the active plumes of the
A
South
small
Pole,
world
escaping
continuously
particles
leaking
disperse
evidence of an
outwards.
unseen ocean
From the
into
fractures.
space. And high above its south pole, the tiger stripes continue to open into darkness, feeding the ring that first revealed their existence.